The day is September 2nd, 2023. As Shedeur Sanders takes the final knee of the game, many storylines are about to be pushed. Was Colorado, a formerly 1-10 team, really going to become a playoff team overnight? Is Deion Sanders really a coaching guru who could turn a program around with more efficiency than a forklift-certified man? Is Shedeur Sanders going to be the QB that Deion had promised him to be? At the time, all these statements seemed promising, but at the moment, none of those were taking center stage. We weren't talking about the rebirth of a dynasty. We weren't talking about Deion's huge upset over a number 17 ranked TCU. We weren't even talking about Shedeur's humongous 510 yards of passing. But at this moment, all eyes were on one player, Travis Hunter. A man who had just put together a performance that would leave people absolutely floored. Something we haven't seen at this level in an incredibly long time, and to be honest, something we may never see again. He had just stunned the football world. Now, to really show how momentous this was, let me first walk you through all the storylines that existed going into this game so you can truly grasp the magnitude of what was about to happen. Let's start with Deion Sanders, the man who probably needs the least introduction, but let's give him one anyway. So he was an all-star player, and I'm talking like S-tier, golden jacket wearing, headline making type all-star player. And he always did it with this bit of flash and flair that not anyone else in the league had at this time, or maybe will ever have. But like many of the greats, he retires and ends up in a broadcasting booth for a bit while also coaching his children's teams. But before you knew it, that itch of coaching suddenly came back in full force, as now, instead of high school realms calling his names, it was time for him to take on the ranks of colleges. It was here that he would create quite a stir, as he would become the head coach to Jackson State and, well, dominate the SWAC, the HBCU conference, often known as the MEAC's little brother. Shout out to the three-time Celebration Bowl winning NC-A&T, aka my alma mater. But at Jackson State, things were simply not going to be fair. I'm talking about the disparity from being able to draft 4- and 5-star players to the FCS level and barely being able to scrape up the local kids. And it looked like a 2021 season leading an impressive tirade with games like a 61-15 victory over Alabama A&M, dominating Texas Southern 41-21, and whooping Bethune-Cookman 42-12. On top of that, they took FBS opponent ULM to the ropes. Yes, that ULM. The one who beat a Saban-led Alabama? Nope, don't check the timestamps on any of those games. It doesn't matter that they beat them in 2007. They beat them, okay? But overall, just had a dominating season, going 11-1 before losing to their big brothers of the MEAC in the Celebration Bowl in a 31-10 win with, by the way, a phenomenal showing by South Carolina State punter Dyson Roberts in that game. The next year was even more dominating, as Shedeur was beginning to find his rhythm, passing for over 300 yards in 5 out of 12 games he played, with much of that being reduced by the fact that they would switch Shedeur for the backup or just switch to a more run-oriented offense when they were winning by a large margin, which was something that happened quite a bit that season. And it wasn't just the offense that was able to dominate games, the defense was stifling as well, holding 10 of 13 teams they played against to 2 scores or less. And of course, this was helped by a huge recruiting gap, and one of the biggest fish on Deion Sanders' boat was his 5-star catch. The first 5-star player to go FCS and the first 5-star player to go to an HBCU, Travis Hunter, cornerback from West Palm Beach, Florida. Yes, the namesake of this video is finally getting introduced, and he was, well, I mean, he was good. There's not too much to say about it, but not in the way you would expect a player to be good. He didn't just put up absolutely insane stat lines on defense. He didn't break the interception record, and it wasn't even until Alabama A&M that he would get his first interception, which is ironically the same game he recorded his first collegiate touchdown, and now you're thinking like, oh, okay, cool, like a pick six, or maybe even a fumble recovery, or he was special, maybe he even blocked a punt. No, dear viewer. Although I love your enthusiasm for trying to guess, his first collegiate touchdown came on offense. a jet sweep out of a condensed formation that I could not be bothered to identify properly, and a little push pass goes for 20 yards and a touchdown. And once again, I know what you're thinking, because it's one of two things. Well, he can get away with stuff like this because he's just at a lower level of competition where more people can do more different things. Or two, he is just a freak athlete and it's not unheard of to try to get them touches on offense if they're defensive players. I mean, heck, when I was in college, we had this defensive back / punt returner on my team named Devin Jones, who also was just going to be the best athlete on the field at any given time. So his senior year, we said it and lined him up on offense. But like this play was designed, most of the offensive plays designed to get him the ball were trying to get him a full head of steam and some open field to do what he did best. And as fun as it was for many, it was just a footnote in that season that this one corner would occasionally take offensive snaps. But that season ended and Deion decided to part ways with Jackson State with absolutely zero drama surrounding it. And he took his talent to Colorado. And I don't mean just his coaching talent, I mean all the talent on his team. Shedeur, Travis, and 6 other players, as well as recruiting an absolutely whopping 86 new players. 86! To call it an overhaul would be like calling the results of the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand a little tension between countries. It was something we had never seen in college football before, and hopefully we'll never see again. So going into this game, there was tons of hype, especially as they were taking on former national championship contenders TCU, who, well, don't ask them how that national championship game went. Just know that they showed up, okay? But with Colorado previously going 1-11 and doing it in an incredibly bad fashion, like losing a 63-21 loss to Utah, a 54-7 loss to UW, 17-55 to USC, I mean, it was just bad through and through, and nobody really knew what to expect from anyone, much less this sort of footnote player Travis Hunter. And what we were about to get is going to be one of the greatest feats of human athleticism in the modern era of sports. Don't believe me? Let's just take a look, okay? Now, Travis Hunter was doing his thing defensively, and admittedly, the Buffalo defense was about as stout as a Miller Lite, but don't let that take away from the fact that Hunter was doing everything he could, okay? Chase down tackle? Check. Pass breakup? Check. Clutch goal line interception? You could bet your ass we can check that off. He was absolutely electric. If he had put up just the performance he did on defense, we probably would have walked away saying that is a very promising game from the sophomore corner. But that's not what happened, because on the other side of the ball, he just kept going. 11 receptions, 119 yards, and leaving everybody's jaw on the floor. We hadn't seen anything like this in the modern era. And I just want to talk about why it's more impressive than people give credit to. Aside from the fact that people have gotten stronger and bigger as the years have gone on, you have to take a look back to the 60s to be able to find guys who played both directions be able to stand at the collegiate level. And that's because 2 reasons. First, the specialization of each position is at an all-time high. From overarching differences between wide receivers and DBs all the way down to zone techniques versus man-on-man techniques, you have to be absolutely on the top of your game at your specific position if you want to be better than the guy across the ball from you, because you better believe they're going to be on top of theirs. But on an even more shallow note, we also have the complexity of the game itself. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an offensive or defensive guru, and I get that, but to play offense at the collegiate level, there's another layer. It's a layer of play calling which is specifically designed just to confuse the guys on the other team. And I don't mean like schemes like rotating defensive players or disguising coverages. I mean complex signals, play names, and on-field audibles to be able to confuse the guys on the opposite side of the ball. And these things also exist on defense to a different extent, but that just means that for the 154 snaps that Travis Hunter played, he knew everything. He knew all the techniques, he knew all the play calls, and he executed them to a level we just did not think was even possible. So all in all, with all of this in consideration, the performance he put up across those 154 snaps is absolutely unreal, and he was a huge contributor to how the Buffs were able to pull out and win this game. And even though the Deion-led Colorado team would eventually flame out after this game, it was still insane to see Travis Hunter play both ways at such an incredibly high level.
Jeez, this guy Travis Hunter, a ball hawk.